April 16th, 2011. What happened? Tornado, disaster, major disaster, presidentially declared disaster. FEMA came in, the SBA came in, all of these things. And I'll go back to this, but let's see. What we do, Cumberland Disaster Recovery Coalition, is CDRC for short, is we meet unmet disaster needs. Why do we exist? Again, April 16, 2011, the tornadoes came through. FEMA came in, a bunch of representatives from nonprofit agencies, businesses, and churches gathered around the table down at DSS, and there was probably about 70 or so businesses, agencies, organizations that were represented. And I got asked from my church outreach director to attend that meeting because he was not going to be able to make it. And due to the nature of my business, which is emergency preparedness, home inventories and things like that, he asked me to go attend in his stead, and I've been there ever since. FEMA came in and said, well, you know, Cumberland County needs to think about having a long-term recovery group. And I'll explain what long-term recovery group means in just a few minutes. But we said we needed to start a group. They asked for volunteers to lead the group. I did not want to be a chairman at the time, so I volunteered to be co-chair, but little did I know. And co-chair, when the chair quits, I'm right in there. And again, I've been there ever since. So, but basically the CDRC is a representation of nonprofit agencies, faith-based organizations, charitable organizations, working together to meet the unmet needs of the Cumberland County residents affected by a disaster. Now, it has to be a presidentially declared disaster. We don't see those very often, but when we do, they're devastating. The last one that I can recall was in '96. What was it? '96, do you remember?
The hurricane.
Hurricane Fran. What about before that?
Floyd.
Floyd was '99. But we didn't get affected too bad by Floyd. But the only one that I remember other than that was the one that happened in Red Springs in '84. In case you can't tell, I'm a native of Fayetteville, so I've been here for quite some time. The CDRC works in collaboration with other organizations to assess the needs, offer resources, and ensure that residents are helped after all personal insurance and monies, FEMA money, and SBA loans have been exhausted. We have a great community of concerned citizens, and as well as churches, businesses, faith-based organizations, government agencies, and nonprofits to lead the way and participate in the CDRC. As you continue to visit our website, you'll see what other organizations make up your CDRC, because it is your CDRC. We do not help businesses, unfortunately, but we do help residents after a presidentially declared disaster. I'm trying to get that changed. Sorry, I shouldn't have done that. I'm trying to get that changed to where the local emergency manager, Mr. Randy Beeman, if he makes the call to, let's just say, we have a disaster wildfire. You know, a couple of years ago there was a wildfire out on the Cumberland County-Bladen County line. I think it burned 7 houses. That would be considered, to me, something that we would need to step in. So I'm trying to get the bylaws changed for that, but we'll see what happens. Let's see. So this is just some pictures of things, and this might bring back some memories to especially some people. It's just, I went out that day. Actually, I was part of the CERT team. We got called out, and I was helping victims or survivors to a shelter. And I recall one person, one individual, all he had on was a tank top, a pair of shorts, flip-flops, and he was holding his briefcase. Everything else just right through the roof. Everything he lost. This has been Martin Elementary School. This made North Carolina history right here. This is the hardest hit public school in North Carolina history from a disaster. So there are 4 phases in a disaster: preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation. Now, do you all know what all of those means? Obviously, preparedness, to prepare your 72-hour kit, things like that, communication plan. Response is actually going to the disaster immediately after it happens. Red Cross is really good for that. Recovery, that's building and doing all that, recovery, building it all back. And the mitigation is the planning part of how you're going to take care of all that. The CDRC was formed to assist people in the recovery phase. Our goal is to assist people in repairing, rebuilding, restoring, readjusting, and adapting to the new normal, because it is new. I still, to this day, hear people talk about how they're scared when they hear thunder and lightning. Well, they don't hear lightning, but when they hear thunder and see lightning. And I actually had a client a couple of months ago that is still fighting with the restoration company from the tornadoes. I'll leave the restoration company name out. But this is what the CDRC does to assist people. So the sequence of delivery. When you have a disaster, what do? You call your insurance company. If you have a loss, you call your insurance company. So you use your personal resources and your insurance. Then the next step is to get FEMA assistance. What everyone is allowed to have FEMA assistance, regardless of what happens. You get a certain amount of money for like clothing and shelter, and that's it at the first stage of FEMA. SBA loans. Remember, I said that we don't help businesses, we only help residential. Well, why does the SBA have anything to do with it? But if there is another disaster, or when there's another disaster, make sure, even if you don't have a business, you apply to the SBA loan. Because if you do not apply, you're not going to get FEMA money afterwards. So you must apply to get any other help. And that was a big thing that a lot of people didn't know. I know when I got the letter, I was like, I do have a business, but my business was not affected. Why do I need to apply for a SBA is a small business, so why do I need to apply for a loan? But it's just something that they have to do. FEMA says, SBA, you have to apply for a loan. Even if you're not approved, you can still get money from FEMA. And I think the national dollar amount is $33,280 or something like that. They're trying to get that amount raised. And you can use that money to rebuild and recover and stuff like that. However, I will warn you, don't give all your money to one person. And what I mean by that is because when disasters happen, scammers come out of the woodwork. They will try to scam you. I've talked to many people. We helped a total of about 12 individuals, families. And I wish we could have helped more, but we were brand new, so nobody really knew about us. But a lot of our clients got scammed. That's why they didn't have any money left to refinish their home. So I just forewarn you, be aware of scammers. Don't do something up front. Don't do something on the spot. And then the final stage is where we come in to play. We will come in. We'll ask churches to volunteer their time. We go out and we do an assessment on the damage. We make sure that all these other 4 steps have already been taken care of. And this could take months. I think the last one we did was like 13 months after the disaster in April 16, 2011. So this phase here takes months. And these phases can take months too, but this cannot happen until all those other 4 have happened. So any questions on that right now? Okay. You'll be able to ask questions later too. But some of the businesses and faith-based organizations, you can see, obviously, American Red Cross, Cumberland County EMS, Cumberland County Schools, the Fire Department, Fayetteville Urban Ministry, my business, Home Safe Home Inventory, North Carolina Baptist Men, North Carolina VOAD, which is Volunteers Active in Disasters, the Salvation Army, United Way of Cumberland County, and so forth and so on. So get involved. Volunteer, donate, become a board member. We are actively seeking board members at this time. We are a 501c3 nonprofit that we obtained 2 years of 2013, and we need some active board members. It's nothing major. You can meet twice a year, and it's just to keep the CDRC in check. Because even though there's not a disaster happening, we're still out in the community trying to get people prepared for disasters. So you can become a board member and you can attend our meetings. We have monthly meetings just once a month. Our next meeting is September the 16th. It's a Wednesday. It'll be held down at the Cumberland County Library, downtown. Some contact information, I'll come back to that. Let's see if I can get this to work. Maybe. Anyways, this was a commercial that we did shortly after the disaster, and basically showed a little bit about what we are, what we do.
I'm Simon Whistler. You're watching Top 10's Net, and in the video today, we're looking at science fiction.
Good recovery.
Sure, you can start a non-profit based on giving food to hungry people, but why deal with boring, real-world problems when you can prepare to fight Terminators by making yourself into an immortal cyborg supervillain who also lives?
So I assume that's not 21.
No. It's all right. We don't have to show it. You can just go back to the phone.
Steve, was that my property picture?
Yeah. Deborah's property was really affected by that. She has a property out on Riley Road. So anyway, the CDRC, again, even though there's not disasters happening, we still try to get out in the community. That's why I'm doing this presentation, to help people try to be prepared. You know, have a 72-hour kit, have a communications plan, have 2 ways out of your home in case of a fire, things of that nature. September is National Preparedness Month, and I am giving several presentations, one of them being Purposefully Prudent. It's a presentation for church leaders. If you go to church, ask your leaders to come to this seminar. It will help them learn ways to better prepare their churches for disasters. And disasters happen in many ways, many forms, anytime, any place. What happens if somebody passes out during service? What happens if somebody starts choking during service? What about a tornado? You know, a tornado is really the only disaster where we have no prep time. Hurricanes, they come away from the coast, you know, they're a long ways away. We have time to prepare for them. Tornadoes are instant. So, you know, what do you do in those cases? So ask your church leaders to come out. You can have as many leaders come out, or if you want to come yourself, you're more than welcome to come. But it's going to be held at Church of the Open Door on September the 19th from 8 to 12. We'll have a good time. We're going to do a tabletop exercise. I'm leading the group, and it'll just help churches. And my goal with this is to bring churches together so when another disaster happens, if churches over on the east side of the river are part of the CDRC, they can take care of that part of the town. If it happens over on Riley Road area, those churches can take care of that part. If it happens right here in the heart of Fayetteville, the churches around here can take care of that part. So it basically section off the county. So I kind of hope that makes sense. But again, it's your CDRC, and hopefully and prayerfully we'll never have to utilize it, you know, but disasters do happen again. So it was a long process. Just to give you another brief synopsis of the CDRC, we started and then the group dwindled it down. I think now we have about 7 people that come to our monthly meetings, which is fine, because all those organizations and the churches that I mentioned, I didn't mention the churches, but the organizations and churches, I know they will come right back to us when the event happens. But we want to be your person to go to after a disaster happens, after all the other stuff is gone. So, but it was a long process. Before we became a 501c3, we were under the umbrella of United Way. So United Way helped us tremendously with banking and finance part of it, and a meeting place. So that's pretty much the CDRC. Do you have any questions? Yes, ma'am.
First, I am willing to serve on your board since I've been so directly impacted.
Awesome.
Because I have strong opinions about the whole thing. I think I understood you to say that you would like to see that sequence change and have our group intervene earlier.
Yes.
Because it looked like, because the SBA loan process can be long. And it doesn't happen instantly, and there are a lot of needs before that. And I did make the visit over there just to see what it was about. And I thought the interest rate wasn't something that I could live with. And so you see, I don't know what you mean by after all these other resources have been exhausted.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why we probably haven't gone to something other than presidentially declared, because that sequence, the FEMA, or your personal insurance, then the FEMA assistance, and then the SBA loan, and then the FEMA monies, and then we step in. So that's with a presidentially declared disaster.
Right.
So a local disaster, obviously FEMA's not going to get involved, and probably neither is the SBA unless you have a business. Now there is a plan for businesses for a disaster, but in terms of what we would do, the SBA would not be part of that. So that's one reason why I think we haven't adjusted to helping out earlier, because I would like to do maybe a state disaster, because there's plenty of state disasters. You know, there could be floods, or the flood that happened last year in August, or a year before last. There was a bunch of flooded places. I remember back in the mid-'80s, late '80s, there was a really major flood. I think like 12 dams in Cumberland County busted, and it just, I mean, I was at a party, and before I knew it, my car was under that much water. So that was not a fun time. But I hope that kind of answers your question.
So if you do a state disaster, that means you will be responsible for the state of North Carolina instead of just Fayetteville, Cumberland?
No. If a disaster happens here locally in Cumberland County, and it's declared a state disaster, which could be like the fire that happened out in Cumberland County and the Bladen County links, that was a state disaster, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
But that would be, but we only serve Cumberland County. We had one of our clients, this was kind of a funny story. She lived in Cumberland County during the tornadoes, but shortly after, her home got damaged, obviously, and she moved. Where did she move? Harnett County. And she moved into a house that was, I mean, it was right over the Cumberland County, Harnett County line. She moved into a house that needed repairs. She tried to blame it on the tornadoes. All the trees were still standing in her yard, and just long story short, she did not get any help, unfortunately. Main reason is because she was in Harnett County. So, not that we were trying to be mean, but, you know, rules are rules.
I would encourage everyone in the room, if you don't think about it all the time, to constantly update your insurance. because I had just updated mine, and it still wasn't adequate. Things you don't think about is even debris cleanup. I had over 200 trees down, and the cleanup, and FEMA does not help with businesses with cleanup at all. And the city, if this group is not interacting with the city, your efforts are just about worthless, because the city probably interfered with my progress more than they helped. It was absolutely ridiculous. They probably cost me no less than $20,000 extra with all the obstacles they threw before me.
For
So,
example?
For example, when it got near the end stages of my recovery, when I rebuilt, I needed temporary power, because I needed the painters to be able to come in and touch up, and it was dark in there, and my cleanup people to come in, and they didn't want to give me temporary power. Why? Because they said, well, you put furniture in your model. Oh, I said, I'm not a decorator. I hired a decorator to decorate one apartment so I could kind of see what was needed, because I furnish all of my apartments. They were so worried that I would start moving tenants in before I had my certificate of occupancy. They would not let me get temporary power. I fought and fought. I had to go up 3 levels. I went above the building inspector of the city until I said, what do I have to do? Move my furniture into the front yard? I mean, that, to me, it was, there was no helping attitude. That was right when the UDOs came in. I can go on and on. There were so many things with the city.
So in other words, what you're saying is, take a look at your insurance, talk to your insurance
Yes.
agent, and find out these things, because you're right. There's a lot of things that's not covered. In my business, Home Safe Home Inventory, that's part of what I do. I let you know if you're adequately insured as far as your personal property goes. And you know, I step into the next phase of it, being prepared. Like, how many people right now have a copy of everything in your wallet or purse? One. How many people have a copy of everything in your wallet or purse? One. 2.
You know why? Because my purse got stolen one time,
So,
10 years ago.
was that a
I had
disaster?
no freaking clue. Yeah,
Was that
I
a
mean, it wasn't
that's a
major
disaster. So, you know, you have to think about those things. Don't wait. Please don't wait. Get these things done now. So, do call your insurance company and talk to them about those things. Ask them what's covered, what's not covered, and you can go to, there's websites. I do a seminar here also at FTCC. It's called Business Continuity. I don't know when the next one will be, probably sometime in the spring, but I talk about those things. You know, are you adequately insured? That's my.
And you might not think what you have is worth anything, but Steve came in and did my house, and I had to triple my coverage because, you know, all that junk adds up.
Some people call it junk, some people call it art, you know. But, I didn't say that. Anyway, it's very important to be prepared, and that's what the CDRC does. That's my end goal, is to make sure everyone in Cumberland County is prepared as far as the CDRC goes. My business, Home Safe Home Inventory, even though I'm not presenting on that now, I did back in December. So if you go back on the 1 Million Cups website, you can look. December 3rd, I think, is when I presented, so you can learn all about my business there, or you can contact me. There's some business cards up here. Sorry, I don't have business cards for the CDRC, but the contact information is the same. It's all me. And there are some brochures, the CDRC brochures. It tells you a little bit more about it. They're a little dated, so we have to update them. So that's pretty much it. Any other questions?
Yeah, I'd like to serve on your board too.
Awesome.
Awesome.
There's 2. I just need a few more.
Successful.
Question, with the new hurricane now turning in the Atlantic, based on your experience with this and your own business, what are some things that, you know, we're so used to, make sure you have your water, make sure you have your flashlights and batteries and all. What are things that we tend not to remember to do to be prepared in case we have to go through recovery?
I'm glad you said that, because you know, what do most people go out and buy when they see a storm coming? Milk
Bread,
and
milk.
bread. Let me tell you something. Milk will spoil it because power will go out. Hurricane Fran came through. I live in the city. You know, I thought my power would be back on in a couple of days.
No.
Not anything against PwC, but my power was out for over a week. Cold showers build character, and it also spoiled milk. So you need a 72-hour kit. FEMA and people are saying now you need a little bit longer. You need a week worth of water. You need a gallon per person per day. So I have 4 kids and my wife and myself. That's 6 people. I need how many gallons of water for 72 hours? 18. Right? 3 times 8, 3 times 6 is 18. My math right? I see a couple of hands nodding.
Yes.
All right, so 18 gallons. How many cases of water is that? That's 6. 1 case of water is 3 gallons of water. Just a little FYI. So gallons, you know, you need water, you need some food. Do not put food in your 72-hour kit that you will not eat. If you don't like tuna, don't put canned tuna in there. You'd be surprised. Make sure if you have cans and they're not the pop tops, you have a manual can opener. A P38 works awesome. Just make sure you attach it to something so you don't lose it. Manual can opener, flashlight with extra
Now, why not
batteries.
the pop top?
Ma'am?
Why not the pop top?
No, I'm saying if you don't have the pop top,
Oh,
make sure
okay.
you have a can opener. And it's good to have a can opener too, because you can bargain with it. Hey, I'll open that if you give me that. Anyway, but a flashlight and radio with extra batteries, a first aid kit, ponchos, things like that. In my case, I have a duffel bag that's very big. My water, my duffel bag has all the food and everything in it. My 4 kids have their own backpack. In that backpack, they have a change of clothes, some shoes, a little game or something that they like to do, and a Snuggie, a lovey, or whatever, a teddy bear, whatever you want to call it, and a couple of snacks and a couple of water bottles, just in case. So that way, if we have to get out in a hurry, they can grab their bag and we go. I change it twice a year when time changes. So November is when time changes again. We'll put their warmer clothes in there. What about cash? Do you need cash? Yes. And the list goes on and on. You can prepare your documents. Again, everything in your wallet or purse. Make copies of it. Put it on a thumb drive. Put it in your safe deposit box, whatever. Insurance certificate information, homeowner certificate information. You know, if you own your home, or your loan information. There's a whole list of documents that you need to make copies of. And I will have a preparedness binder hopefully next month to raffle off and to sell at my events. So that's something I am working on. And there was a communications plan. So like if there's a home fire in your home, where do you meet? Especially if you have small kids. I do a preparedness party where I go in, and the first thing I do is knock on the door and say, you have 10 minutes to get out of your house as if you're never coming back. What do you grab? It's so much fun to see what everybody grabs. But you want to practice those before something happens, and have a meeting space outside of your home so everybody knows where to go, because half the house will be in the back and half the house, family members will be in the back and half will be in the front.
I went to a couple of Steve's seminars now. When you mentioned the thumb drive and put all your documents on it, I went home and I did that, and I went to put it in the safety deposit box, or our fireproof lock box. And my husband said, you know what, make an extra one and we'll put it over at Nikki and Sarah's house, my daughter and his wife. I said, oh gosh, good idea, because he's like, you know, if the house gets blown away, we got to look for the box.
Yeah.
So if we have an extra thumb drive with the extra stuff on it at someone else's house that you love, that you know has a lock box, then you've got that extra, you know, just in case. So.
That's right.
Yep.
And if you have a business and a home, you just swap them, like you just said. That's it.
Plus, I've got your CD that's got all my stuff on it.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's right.
serial numbers and.
Yep. That works. And did you have another question? Deborah?
No, I could go on and on. Having lived through it, it certainly changes your perspective.
It does.
Okay, Steve, other than you need some more board members, what can the community do to help you?
Well, as far as the CDRC is concerned, come to our meetings. Let your churches know about our organization. We meet once a month. You don't have to come to every meeting. I just want to get you on board so when the next disaster happens, we can go to you. Have your church leaders come to this seminar, September 19th from 8 to 12 at Church of the Open Door. Please RSVP. You can call me. Again, my cards are up here. Join our board for CDRC, and above all else, prepare. And the easiest way to do that is to call me, and I can get you prepared.
And your
So,
meeting time is?
meeting time is, you caught me off guard because we kind of took a break, 9:30?
Yeah.
9:30. Georgina's on our committee also. She comes to our meetings, or she was coming to our meetings. And jobs get in the way, and I understand that. So, but thank you for serving with us. And I look forward to any of y'all and 2 new board members too. That'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.